somebody you've been critical of, but in fairness, despite the drama around him, Caleb's not throwing picks. I know it's not everything, but usually if a quarterback's overwhelmed, a rookie, he makes a lot of mistakes. Will Levis, Bryce Young. Okay, let's go now to what Caleb is. They're not winning. Have you changed your opinion on what you see with him?
No, and listen, I know he's a young quarterback, and so I always feel badly being critical at all of any young quarterback because if someone looked at me when I was a rookie, it would have been a disaster. Okay, but this is a very strong rookie class of quarterbacks, and I just think that like Caleb is the one guy to me that I don't see the things that I believe are really important, that I believe matter for sustained success for a long career. I haven't seen that so much. So yeah, is no interceptions like great, that's awesome. But like you also have to learn to be an anticipator as a passer. You see
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels do such an amazing job. Uh, he's a wait and see thrower. You can't take sacks that hurt your team. You're in field goal range. Now you take an unnecessary sack. Now we're punting. Like you got to learn to throw the ball away. You got to know where your hots are. You got to move protection so that you're not hurting your team. Body language is a huge thing to me. I don't love what I see out of him. So are there wow plays? Are there splash plays? Yeah, that's awesome. That's why you were drafted so high. But if you're going to compare him, and if I was just going to like nameless faces, I don't see the emblem on the helmet, I don't see the name on the jersey, I don't know who was picked first, second, third, whatever. I'm putting all those other rookie quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix. In a week, I might put Penix up there above Caleb. That's just the film is the film, and my opinion is my opinion. But we'll see. If I'm being real, that's what I would say.
No.
Wow. That's like as strong as criticism as I've heard. And I don't, you can see that he was, didn't really want to give it. Because, he's obviously a nice guy. He's not here to, he's not Rex Ryan trying to just be this big personality and just be shocking, right? He's got Charles Barkley out there. You can see that it clearly makes him uncomfortable to kind of say some of these things. I think it's a tough situation here. I just think I'm still going to give the benefit of the doubt to Caleb Williams. I can acknowledge that you would want to see him be better even in this bad situation, this less than ideal situation, having these coaches and coordinators be fired. But I get the other idea, the other coin, at the other side of the coin, where you're like, well, who does Drake May have? Who's his coach? Who are his players? Yada, yada, yada. And I get that, because we could say, okay, Bo Nix, Sean Payton, Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Quinn, stability, etc., etc. But I think some of the issues, like you kind of talked about, kind of a wait and see thrower and the anticipation, that is something that I highlighted like weeks ago about some of his throws. And that's what you've seen Jaden Daniels be able to do. You even saw Michael Penix do it in this game, in his first game against the Giants. I mean, he was doing some really awesome high level throws where he's throwing like well before that receiver has really developed into his where he's supposed to be able to catch the ball and make a play. And he's doing it like down the field, like just making high level, because there's all different levels of anticipation. Sometimes you're making an anticipatory throw and it's kind of like someone's coming across the field and you're just like trying to throw it like in the spot where you think he's going to be. Sometimes you're making a throw where the receiver's literally kind of essentially like, no, he's got his head down, looking to the side. You're throwing the ball over there and the receiver's still kind of right here. Like you're really kind of trusting that he's going to get to where he needs to go. So even when we talk about anticipation, there's different levels of technically just throwing the ball like 2 feet in front of the wide receiver where he's kind of running to it is technically anticipation. So again, there's just kind of levels to it. But I just think what he's been able to do with Caleb, like we just haven't seen that develop. And some of these other aspects of his game that whether you were in a good situation or not, you would still probably want to see still kind of come along. But I think it's still fair to give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense of this team has been so disconnected, such a mess from just a roster and coaching standpoint, that I just don't expect these young players to be able to develop. Because when we mention someone like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix, they are older. They have had more time to bake. They've been able to just get more snaps under their belt. And Caleb did not necessarily have that. And I think that does mean something. Now, the caveat is Drake May, but I don't want to act like Drake May's been like balling and having this great season either. Not to mention, I think it's a little bit easier for him to kind of just let it rip and kind of just do whatever, because there isn't that level of expectations. And I think, unfortunately, Caleb Williams did play with these high level expectations, along with not having the coaching and the support to be able to develop that. So it just makes sense why someone in that situation would regress / not be able to overcome the situation. Think about it if you were doing anything in your job, like any type of something that you're really great at or good at from a again, just personal life or career perspective. It's just going to be hard if you have no expectations at all, and someone's like, "Hey, man, can you paint my house? Like, I don't want to spend a lot of money. Here's $100. Paint, if you could paint these walls, that'd be great." No matter how good or great you are, like, if you're pretty good, like, you'll probably do a pretty good job. There's no expectations, whatever. But if someone was like, "Hey, man, I'm hiring you because I think you're the greatest painter ever, and I know you're going to do a perfect job. And honestly, if you mess up, like, this is going to be a really big deal. Like this is really, 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 really important to me. If you paint this well, like, I have the opportunity to, like, I don't know, become world famous. So please do a great job." And now you're like, "Okay, I got to have a team to help me paint this." And they're like, "Okay, great." But your team is a mess and they're all over the place. You're not going to be able to do a really good job in that situation. Whereas if you just had a support where you actually had someone to help guide you and be like, "Hey, you know what? We got to do a little bit of this. We got to kind of do some borders around here. We got to take care of this. We should be using this coat instead of that, like this color instead of that." Like, it's just going to be more collaborative. It's just different energy, different expectations. And again, it does matter to degree. I purposely use a silly, stupid example because even something like that would still have an effect. It would still absolutely have an effect. And so I get why people want to jump and make these conclusions about an individual quarterback, but we just have this season alone as a perfect example of why situation matters, why where you land matters. And that's Sam Darnold. I mean, that's the perfect example right now in real time that we get to witness before us. So I just don't think that we have to jump to strong conclusions about Caleb. Truthfully, if this was any other industry where fortune and fame and money wasn't all involved, truthfully, it would be like, you know what? Let's just put this kid to the side right now. Let's just not focus on it. This season was a weird one, was a mess. Not what we thought it was going to be. Let's just wait until next year. And then we wouldn't have to kind of keep having these same conversations again and again and again and again. I mean, he was 26 for 40, 334 yards, 8.4 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and a 107 rating. 6 carries for 34 yards. But the run game was 17 carries for 59 yards. He did have multiple fumbles. We're 2 for 10 on third, but we're 3 for 4 on fourth, 1 for 3 in the red zone, and 10 penalties. I mean, even in the first quarter, when they kind of had things rolling, when they were actually going to get some momentum and could maybe close and make this game a little bit closer, 10-7, let's go. Instead of, boom, fumble. And now just like that, down 2 score, down 13-0. Just like that, boom. And it just things to start to kind of pile on after that. I think Caleb looked comfortable. I think he looked comfortable throwing on the move. I think he looked more decisive. He was continuing to make plays with his legs. But when you have the inability to run, you turn the ball over and you can't convert third downs, and you're 1 for 3 in the red zone, you're not gonna win. No team's gonna win with that. And add 10 penalties for good measure. Like it's just not going to be good. So this is an ill-prepared team, bad coaching, a quarterback who's not ready, and so that's what you get. It's just what you get. Who knows what they've even been working on in practice? When you talk about anticipation and getting into timing and all of these types of things, I mean, like, who really knows? If this coaching staff was just as bad as they were in game day, what do you think they've been doing in practice? So, you know, I have no strong desire to come up with a firm conclusion about Caleb Williams, which is why I'm also not saying, stop it. Caleb Williams is going to prove all you haters wrong. And I'm also not saying Caleb Williams is clearly overrated, is clearly not a top pick in the NFL, and is clearly not going to be a star. Like, I'm not saying that either. Like, Caleb Williams is just a wait and see. I know everyone thought that he was going to be this generational all-time great talent, and he was going to start off from the jump. But you know what? A lot of people much smarter than me who still believe that Caleb was going to be and is going to be great, a lot of them saw these struggles coming. And I doubted it, honestly. I rejected it. But a lot of them, again, ex-players, ex-coaches, whatever, they all saw it coming. So if this is what they were predicting but still believed Caleb to be special, I think it's worth it to, give him the benefit of the doubt. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Caleb Williams? How are you viewing his rookie year, the kind of which each game that goes on? I mean, at this point, is there really anything to gain from these last few games? I mean, like, does it really matter when you have such a disastrous season with a disaster of a roster, bad coaching? Like, I mean, like, if you're not seeing pros or him growing or evolving or making high level football plays, like, should he be should he even be able to, considering the circumstances? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.